Hello everyone, it's Ty. Today, we're going to discuss the gear grinds of Genshin, Star Rail, and Zenless Zone Zero. If you've played any of these games, then surely this will have happened to you. A fantastic piece of gear drops. Yes, excitement and joy floods your system as you look at those substats. Surely this piece will be great. Even if you get one or two rolls into that useless stat, the rest will still have to be good. Lock that immediately. And then you level it up. And every f***ing roll goes into that useless substat. All you're left with is an indescribable rage welling within you, threatening to subsume you, and a piece of gear that you still have to use because it's technically better than what you had before. But from then on, every time you look at it, it's a constant reminder of how the game f***ed you over that one time. Haha, remember that time this piece had the chance to be good and it ended up trash? Ha ha ha. So, yeah, this won't really be a hot take, given that I'm sure it's a sentiment shared by nearly everyone who plays these games. And there are surely all kinds of other videos about this topic, but this grumbly gripe popped into my head the other day for some seemingly unknown reason, and it soon developed into something I thought that I'd do a video about that might be fun. So come along with me on this journey through just the worst thing about these HoYo games that I otherwise really enjoy, and the one simple thing I think could fix it. If you've never played Genshin, Star Rail, or Zenless Zone Zero, the gear systems they employ are nearly identical. Each character has a number of slots for gear, and each of those slots can hold particular pieces with particular main stats and a pool of substats. Additionally, there are set bonuses by equipping a particular number of the same set in certain slots. Pretty standard fare as RPG gear systems go. The problem is that there are 6 layers of RNG involved in the acquisition of gear. The first layer is what I'll be calling set. In each of these games, you run a, let's say, dungeon that contains 2 different sets, and every piece of gear is randomly selected from those 2 sets. Next, you encounter the second layer of RNG, rank. Every piece of gear can be of a certain ranking, 3, 4, or 5 stars in Genshin and Star Rail, or B, A, and S rank in Zenless. Obviously, the best gear would be the highest rank, so you have to hope that the 1 or 2 5-star or S rank pieces that drop also stagger favorably through the last 4 layers of RNG, the next of which is what I'll call slot. Maybe you need a chest or boots in Star Rail, or a goblet or circlet in Genshin. Well, that's going to be in the hands of random chance as well. And then you're faced with the next layer of RNG, the main stat. You get your chest or your boots, but you want crit rate on the chest or speed on the boots. Well, good luck with that. And don't forget the penultimate RNG layer, the substats. If you're lucky enough to get the right main stat, now you have to hope to get the right substats for the piece. And let's say, luckily, you do. Well, what a great find! This piece looks like it'll be perfect. It seems that you've won. Except, now you're faced with the final and worst RNG layer, stat rolls. As you level up the item, each substat has a chance to be increased, but which substat gets increased is subject to RNG. Worse still is that none of these stat distributions are truly random. The system is statistically rigged in favor of the less desirable main stats, substats, and stat rolls. It's a wonder why anyone would bother with this nonsense. This is, frankly, in no way a gear grind. This is a daily gear lottery ticket. You spend your stamina for the day and just have to pray to RNGesus that the stars align. There's no sense of active participation in the process or any sense of progress towards an attainable goal. And the worst bit, what's most insulting and enraging about the entire system, is that all too often we're presented with a piece of gear that seems in every way to be the winning ticket with perfect set, rank, slot, main stats, and substats, only for it to be cruelly and infuriatingly snatched away because that final layer of RNG rolls everything into a useless substat that the system is rigged to favor rolls towards. And we're left with nothing but a piece of junk reminder that, oops, sorry, you weren't actually a winner after all. Try again. This is not fun. Many people have said as much in various ways over the years, and thankfully, HoYoverse has clearly been listening because they have taken some steps towards mitigating some layers of the RNG. It took Genshin a while, but they eventually released the Artifact Strongbox, a mechanic by which you can use 5-star gear pieces and convert them directly into 5-star pieces of a specific set. While this is a nice step, the piece created is still random in all the rest of the layers of RNG: slot, main stats, substats, and stat rolls. It would take another 3 years, but they eventually released the Artifact Transmuter, which allows for the creation of gear pieces of a very specific set, slot, main stat, and 2 selectable substats. This is an amazing step forward, and clearly something they'd been toying with for a while because Starrail and Zenless launched with this kind of functionality built in. So, across all 3 games, there is now a way to get the exact set, slot, and main stat of gear. And while Genshin and Starrail have a way to select substats, Zenless still lacks that functionality, but could easily implement something to follow suit. Sounds like a perfect farming system, right? So what's the problem? The problem is there's still no grind because of heaps and heaps of limitations. The items you need to do the crafting for these pieces of gear are excruciatingly rare. Genshin's Sanctifying Elixir can only be acquired through certain quests, certain in-game events, the Battle Pass, and through artifact extraction. With quests, events, and the Battle Pass giving maybe 2 or 3 every patch or so, and the artifact extraction process limited to 1 per patch cycle, that's not a lot of materials, especially when considering the most expensive piece you can craft requires 4 elixirs. I've done my extractions every cycle and all the events since they introduced this system, and I only have 11 elixirs. And to add further insult to injury, you can only create 1 piece from each set during each patch cycle. Seems like an unnecessary extra limitation when there's already so few elixirs available as it is. Meanwhile, Starrail and Zenless are a little bit more lenient in that you can craft to your heart's content, but the self-modeling resin and tuning calibrators needed to choose main stats are similarly quite rare. And it's only recently in 3.0 that Starrail introduced wishful resin, allowing you to select 2 substats on the gear you create, with those, again, being quite rare. They are craftable, but they require using self-modeling resin, which we've already established is rare, or relic remains, which are easily attained by salvaging 5-star relics, but unfortunately can only be used to craft a limited number of times per month. And while these are great steps to dealing with the layers of RNG, they don't escape the final and most egregious layer: stat rolls. You've used all of your special rare materials and crafted yourself a seemingly perfect piece of gear, exact set, exact slot, exact main stat, and 2 of the exact substats that you want. It's perfect. It's a win, you think. Until you realize, no. It's still just another lottery ticket. As you roll for those last 2 substats, it gives you garbage and then proceeds to put every roll thereafter into that garbage. Oops, sorry, you're not actually a winner after all. Try again. Yeah, nothing's been solved here. They've just made it hurt even more when you lose not only the gear lottery, but also all those extremely rare mats you used to buy what looked like a winning lottery ticket. To their credit, 3.0 Starrail has implemented the variable dice, another extremely rare material that you can use to re-roll the substats of an item in just such a scenario. So, again, definitely a step in the right direction, but again, those dice are excruciatingly hard to get from events and the Battle Pass, or unbelievably expensive to craft, taking 3 self-modeling resin to make 1 variable dye. So it's clear they're on the right track. They have the makings of a great system here across their 3 games. What exactly do they need to do to make it perfect? It's blindingly simple, really. Remove the limits and make these items a part of the grind cycle. With Genshin, remove the limitations on how many elixirs can be crafted. Remove the limitations on being able to craft per patch, and, like Star Rail's variable dice, add some way to reroll substats that can also be crafted to alleviate the pain and fury of building your winning lottery ticket only for it to be a loss. Zenless needs to copy Genshin's homework and add a way to craft tuning calibrators, a way to define substats, and also a way to reroll substats that's craftable like Star Rail's variable dice. We use Star Rail as a frame of reference for this perfect system because it's the closest to perfect as it is. It just also needs to take a page from Genshin's book and add a way to craft self-modeling resin using relic remains or leveled 5-star relics. Then, lift the restrictions on crafting wishful resin, and it's basically a perfect cycle. You farm for gear in the hopes of getting what you want, but you don't feel bad when you don't because you can feed the bad pieces to turn into self-modeling resin, which allows you to craft the exact set, slot, and main stats. But then you can farm further still, if you'd rather, to convert your self-modeling resin into wishful resin, so you can choose 2 substats for your nearly perfect relics. And if those rolls go wrong, you can keep farming through the cycle using the garbage to craft self-modeling resin, to craft wishful resin, to craft variable dice, so you can re-roll until they're right enough for you. There's still RNG in attaining the perfect relics, and the bottleneck remains daily stamina, keeping up something of a time gate, so whales will still feel inclined to speed up the process by swiping their credit cards for more stamina, or to cut out the middleman entirely and buy the resin and dice from the shop. All the while, the rest of us free-to-play plebs take much longer to attain perfection, but at least have the knowledge of guaranteed satisfaction that we will have the gear we want with enough time farming. And then, when they inevitably release new sets that end up upgrades to our favorite characters, the cycle will begin anew. No one loses here. But yeah, that's my take on, and hope for the future of, gearing in these games. Obviously, the dials would need to be adjusted in places to ensure an appropriate ratio for player retention. If it's too easy, you lose players when they max out all of their gear right away, but so too do you lose players if it's too hard. I'm sure there's a golden ratio of some kind within this system, though I don't know off the top of my dome what that might be. But what do you think? Leave a comment down below and let me know if you think I've hit the mark or missed it entirely. But either way, thanks so much for watching. I really am enjoying this format and hope to do it more. And if you like this sort of thing, you can let me know with a like, or a comment, or by subscribing. Hit the notification bell and you'll also see when I post new videos. If you want, you can also check out my other videos and maybe you'll like some of that sort of thing. But whatever you do, I hope you have a nice day. Thank you again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye!